how to know if you have a gut issue, SIBO, IBS, any sort of gut issue there is, how to know, and if you do, what to do about it. There's going to be a vast majority of people that have come to this diet and are going to have gut issues, either on it or have already had gut issues, and may or may not know exactly what's wrong with them, but there is going to be a lot of people with gut issues, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent that you're going to have some sort of gut issue. And a couple things to think about when you have gut issues is, unfortunately, the science and the even believability from doctors is still almost non-existent. It's sad and scary, but we're kind of, so you don't go down there. Come here, hey. It's gonna go off the edge. But if you go to a doctor, 99% of the time they're gonna say, oh, diet has nothing to do with gut. Your gut's probably fine. You know, if you're having inflammation or whatever, just take some take some drugs, and you know, they just basically say, no, you don't have a gut issue. No, diet is not related to gut issues. No, diet is not related to disease. No, diet doesn't have anything to do with appendicitis or SIBO or well, most doctors won't even recognize SIBO as a real thing, even though it's easily tested, and other alternative practitioners understand it. And so it's unfortunate, but the diet or the health industry is very much not interested in curing gut issues, and they're much more interested in doling out medications. And so that's just the world we live in, and what you're going to have to deal with if you ever go to a doctor for gut related issues. I think the gut is the last frontier, one of the last frontiers in nutritional sciences and health. And if people can figure out how to heal the gut permanently, we are going to see the vast majority of diseases reversed and healed, because I think all disease really does start in the gut for the most part. I would say like some cancers and things like that are a result of toxin exposure. But for the most part, the gut is the first and last real line of defense against humans getting sick, chronically ill. And we're seeing all these modern diseases, and that's all gut related. So so like the number one things to know, if you do feel like you have a gut issue, there's some things you can test for. SIBO is definitely a test that you can take. It's a hydrogen or methane breath test. You can test for H. pylori. You can test your CRP to see if you have systemic inflammation in your body, or other systemic inflammation markers. If you have systemic inflammation in your body, you have gut issues. Humans are not supposed to be systemically inflamed. It's all local inflammation that should be happening. If you break an arm, you get localized inflammation. If you cut yourself, localized inflammation. If you have an abscessed tooth, localized inflammation, that can turn into systemic inflammation if it gets an infection by bacteria. Again, bacteria are what cause disease in the gut, and they are the things that make and break human health. Come on, this way. And we're not supposed to have systemic inflammation. So if you do have systemic inflammatory markers, you can guarantee that you have some sort of gut issue. Most likely. It is like the reason systemic inflammation happens. Otherwise, it would be some sort of, just like that, some sort of bacterial infection would also cause it, but most people would know if they have a bacterial infection. And there's other tests you can take. Of course, you can get scoped, endoscopy or colonoscopies. You can look for polyps. You can look for lesions. You can look for other things in the gut. Those are more advanced. Things like Crohn's and colitis are very advanced diseases of the gut. And you probably would know if you already have that, because you would have a lot of pain, a lot of diarrhea. You could have blood in your stool, things like that. You would know if you have something as advanced as that. You probably don't need a test to confirm it, but there are tests to confirm those kind of things. But if you don't know, if you just feel off, if you have a lot of bloating, is a super common sign. Like, so many people have bloating on a daily basis, and they don't even attribute it to food, really. They're like, they may know they bloated from food, or they may know that they have heartburn, GERD, gastrointestinal reflux disease, from the specific foods, but they don't understand why it's happening, and they definitely don't think that changing their diet has any real effect on that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's all related. It is all related. It's all bacterial related. It's all some sort of gut dysbiosis, or irritation of the gut. And hello. And so yeah, so if you have any signs of, like, your gut feels irritated, you get diarrhea, constipation, or anything like that. I don't know if it's not too windy up here, but I just kind of want to show a cool little spot. If you can see it, there's a bridge over there, the aerial lift bridge. It's Canal Park, huge. I don't know, you probably can't see it that far. I can't zoom in, otherwise I would. It's a cool little hanging spot that I used to come to a lot. Kind of party. So anyway, come on, Zig. So if you have any of those things, if you have a lot of chronic bloating, diarrhea, like the things I just said, I'm not gonna I keep doing that. I'm not gonna rehash the same things I said. Just by those things, you have some sort of gut issue, dysbiosis, irritation, and it's gonna be food related. It is just gonna be food related, because food is why we have gut issues in the first place. And that's where it gets tricky. That's where, the science isn't there to say what we can do specifically to fix those things. And it's unfortunate, because if you go and you have SIBO and you have Crohn's or you have colitis, they're either going to give you some really hardcore drugs. They're going to say, let's keep an eye on it. If it gets worse, we'll just cut it out. Surgery is the next step. Or TNF blockers, like immune blockers that literally take away your immune system so that your body doesn't attack itself. Those are the two things that they're going to say to do. They're not going to say, or they're going to give you antibiotics. Say, let's just kill the bacteria in the gut and start fresh, right? Well, that doesn't work either. None of those things work. They work if you have necrosis in the large intestine. Yes, you get it cut out. That's going to make you feel better, but that's not a good end result. That's not a good way of healing. What we want to do is heal our guts naturally. And a side note, there's going to be some people that just have an iron, like what we'd say, iron stomachs, or have just always had good digestion their whole lives. And that's awesome. That means that they have never messed around with their metabolism and depressed their metabolism and allowed bacteria to get dysbiotic, out of hand. So for those people, I'd say that's fucking awesome, man. I wish that was me. And that's where things like bacterial fecal implants and fecal colonics and things have the potential to reverse those things, because they're re-inoculating your body with a good blend of bacteria. But there's also some very big downsides with that, mainly dying from bacterial infections. So it's another very new emerging field. What can we do if we have these problems and we don't want to go to the doctor, we don't want to get drugs, we don't want to get all the other things, that potential real negative downsides? What can we do as just people if we have some sort of gut dysbiosis, gut problem? Great question. I'm not exactly sure. I am still evolving with that, and I'm still experimenting with that, because as far as I know there is no true set in stone way to reverse what the damage that happens from a depressed metabolism and from some bacterial derangement and overgrowth. There's really no concrete evidence that anything really reverses this for some people. There's things you can definitely do to feel better, but is that actually curing it? I don't think so. I don't see any people curing. Well, that's not true. I do definitely see people getting better and feeling better and being able to reintroduce foods that at one time would have made them feel like crap. There is definite things to do to make yourself heal and feel better, but as far as completely reversing the problem, we still don't know. It's still a toss-up. Like with carnivore, right? So we'll talk about Mikhaila Peterson for a second. She's a perfect person for this train of thought, because her whole life she was plagued with very chronic disease, all stemming from the gut, right? Horrible rheumatoid arthritis, destroying her joints, and that is basically a sign that your body's attacking itself, and it's an autoimmune disease stemming from the gut, stemming from things getting through the gut wall and becoming a problem in the blood, in the tissues, and the body, basically sending out its immune cell killers to take care of it, but in the process attacking its own body. And it's usually a genetic mutation or some sort of thing like that causes that to happen. But the problem is the gut. The problem is always the gut. At the very beginning of that problem is the gut. And so she found nothing worked. She did everything that she thought would work. She did the probiotics. She did the different diets and did the drugs, got surgeries, all the things. Nothing fixed her. The only thing that she could possibly do was the most extreme thing a person can do, is go down to meat, beef, and water. Literally, her diet is beef, salt, water, and it's been that for, I think, 7 years or something now. And so you would think, okay, you strip away every single thing that could possibly irritate your gut, and you give it years to heal, right? You would think that would heal whatever the problem was, but it doesn't. And she's more sensitive than ever to anything else. She can't eat any other food besides beef, salt, and water. And even then, she was getting issues with beef for a while, and found that, if the beef has been aged for a little bit, then she even has problems with that. So she's even more sensitive than when she started, but she is also at a place where she at least feels good and alive and at an equilibrium. But she cannot go off that diet, and that's the problem. That's the problem. She's not healing. She didn't heal anything. So there's still some sort of gut dysbiosis in there, some sort of leaky gut, some sort of something that we don't understand that is making her sick. And it's never going to get healed by just diet alone, unfortunately. And so that's where I'm coming from with this video. This is not a video to tell you how to fix your gut issues. It's going to be everybody's journey. I'm still on that journey. I'm still trying to fix my gut. And this diet specifically is making me feel so much more alive, better, and not just feeling like I'm dealing with living and just kind of eking by on existence. I actually feel alive. I feel good. I feel energetic. My gut is quiet. My gut is not yelling at me like I'm telling me that I'm eating terrible foods and getting stressed out. My SIBO, I had bloating. I was tested positive for SIBO, I don't know how many years ago, 8 years ago now probably. Or maybe more than that, actually. I don't even know. It's a long time ago. I went to a naturopath and he did the hydrogen methane breath test, and I tested positive for hydrogen methane or hydrogen gas. So I did have SIBO. I got bloating a lot. Again, no bloating. I ate a bunch this morning, zero bloat. I don't even feel my stomach. It doesn't ever get even big on this diet. Even last night I ate bison and rice, and my stomach didn't even feel like it expanded. And I ate a good amount. There's no bloating, and I feel amazing. So that is a really good sign. But is it a sign that I'm healing? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that that's necessarily changing anything to a drastic extent. I'm sure it's making it could be healing my gut walls a bit, and could be changing my bacterial amounts in different bacteria a bit. But is it going to permanently heal me where I can just eat whatever I want again and never feel the pain and never feel the inflammation stuff? I don't know. And I don't really believe that that's all that it takes, unfortunately. So I'm kind of rambling again. I get to that thing where I just start rambling about stuff. I could just go off on topics for a long time. I just go off on little tangents. But back to the original point of so what can you do to potentially heal your gut and potentially get better? So a few things you can do. One, get enough calories in, because I think this is the original way most people destroy their guts in the first place, was depressing metabolism through calorie restriction. If you restrict your calories, you lower your metabolism, or if you eat a high-fat, low-carb diet, you usually lower your metabolism, which causes your gut to basically search for food. So it's going to start moving up from your large intestine to your small intestine, all the way up to your stomach sometimes. And this causes SIBO. And if you don't have a faster metabolism, making enough stomach acid, making enough bile, pushing that back down to where it's supposed to be, you're going to have gut dysbiosis, and you're going to have SIBO, and you're going to have things up where it shouldn't belong. Otherwise, you could get a bacterial infection in the gut from going to a third world country, drinking the water, eating some really bad food, or it doesn't have to be third world country, but that's a lot of people talk about, oh, I went to this country, I got really sick, and then ever since then my gut has been bad. And that's because they got some sort of gram-negative bacterium in their gut that is kind of taking over and being basically bullying other bacteria out. Or they took a lot of antibiotics, killed all their good bacteria. Once you lose a bacterial strain, you can't just get it back. Some of the bacterial strains we're born with aren't bacterial strains we're eating in our diets. And so if you lose them, re-inoculating your stomach, or your intestines with them is next to impossible. And so there's a whole host of reasons why I'd say those are the main ones, like killing off a bacterial strain through antibiotic use, lowering metabolism through calorie restriction, or getting food poisoning or some sort of poisoning, and getting some sort of gram-negative bacterium in your intestines. Those are the main ones why this stuff kind of starts happening. And then lastly, alongside that lowering metabolism, is when you lower your metabolism, you get leaky gut. So leaky gut is the cause of inflammatory immune conditions, or autoimmune conditions, inflammatory diseases, things like that. If you have leaky gut, you're going to have these things because your gut junction walls, the things that hold tight to make sure, and the mucosa and the lining that make sure that food particles aren't passing through your small intestine, they become leaky. They get stressed, they break down, or they get, if you have SIBO and you have a lot of gas, they get expanded, and it allows particles of food that aren't supposed to get through. And that is where the body attacks itself. The body attacks those foreign particles, trying to get them out. Or endotoxin gets through from gram-negative bacterium that are living in your stomach or on your food. There's a lot of foods that are pretty high in gram-negative bacterium and have LPS, endotoxin, lipopolysaccharides. Those things get through your gut intestine wall, and then you start having a host of autoimmune diseases or inflammatory issues. And again, curing leaky gut's another thing that's really tricky. So here's the things you can do. Long story short, I'm already 19 minutes in. Dang. Here's the things you can do. One, figure out a diet that really works for you. FODMAPs are a huge trigger for a lot of people that are going to have SIBO. or malabsorption issues. So work on the foods that really work for you. Work on getting enough calories, enough calories to raise your metabolism. That might actually fix itself just because a raised metabolism starts building your cellular walls again, starts building your gut again, makes all the things that you want to happen. So getting enough calories, eating the foods that feel right for you, not just overavoiding all foods and all fibers, but getting enough fibers to at least feed some bacteria, but maybe not enough to cause an overgrowth or whatever. Those are the two big things. And then stress reduction. You can't say it enough. Stress. So it's either the things I mentioned or it's a chronic stress, right? Come on, Zig, let's go this way. Chronic stress is another outside force that will internally mess you up. But a lot of times chronic stress also comes with either binge eating shitty food, which can also help or hurt you, or calorie restriction because you just don't want to eat. So there's a whole dietary component with chronic stress as well. Come on. So stress reduction is key to healing long term. And I think it could be one of the biggest keys. So there's a whole, I'm not going to, come on, Zig, don't look at them. I'm not going to talk about all the things you can do for chronic stress. You can Google that. There's a million things you can do. I would definitely look into them. I would definitely do them. But yeah, gratitude, stretching, yoga, walking, daily affirmations, getting good sleep, getting outside, getting sun, getting fresh air, the multitudes of good things you can do for stress reduction. And then lastly would be supplements. And that's where it gets tricky because everybody's going to have protocols, and what works for one person is not going to work for other. That's why probiotics don't just universally work for people, because those random strains of probiotics might not be even ones you need, or they might be actually hurting you. There's some things like L-reuteri yogurt that seemingly are working for a lot of people, but it might not work for everybody. S. boulardii is a yeast that kind of crowds out bacteria and can work, or like other yeasts can work for some people, doesn't work for everybody. There's so many different bacteria and so many different forms of singular bacteria that it's almost impossible to say what's going to work for your gut. So I don't think probiotics are necessarily good or bad. And probiotic foods also are necessarily good or bad. It depends on the person. I don't feel great eating probiotic foods. A little bit of yogurt's good. For me, it's fine. It doesn't seem to do one thing or the other, but if I eat a lot of yogurt, if I eat a lot of fermented foods, I don't feel better eating them. So I don't think that's necessarily helpful. Also, a lot of the probiotics don't even make it past your stomach because they're just getting destroyed by the stomach acid. So it's kind of a weird thing. That to push a lot of probiotics on people when maybe it's just causing more bacterial load that's not even healthy. And then there's antibiotics, which can help for some people and can hurt some people. There's natural antibiotics. There's of course chemical antibiotics and prescription antibiotics. They all have their place and they all can be helpful and they all can be hurtful. So it's hard to say one way or the other. The best things I would say for gut health especially is to get lots of nutrition, lots of B vitamins, lots of fat-soluble vitamins. Maybe not a lot of vitamin A. That's the one fat-soluble vitamin that I'm not 100% sure that we need a lot of. I don't think, well, I know we don't need a lot of it. It's toxic in large amounts, but I do think we need some, but that's another topic. But fat-soluble vitamins are very important, especially D and K. You just don't get a lot of them. Most people don't get enough of them. And amino acids are definitely important. Glycine is important. There's a lot of things like that. Vitamin C is important. Thiamine is important, which is a B vitamin, but also a very just important B vitamin. But pretty much all the B vitamins are very important. What else? Magnesium is very important, but again, it's hard to measure how much a person needs. Is too much good or bad? Like, you know, it's hard to say. Sodium is very important. There's so much. Anyway, I think that's way too long already. I try not to make videos this long because I feel like attention spans, it's a rough world out there for attention spans, and most people don't have that kind of attention span. But for the people who really want to listen, they're going to listen. So that's cool. That's all I got to say about that one for now. I'm sure I missed a lot of things, but it's a big subject, and it's mostly just a thought subject. It's not a I can fix this subject, you know? And I hope everybody kind of figures it out for themselves. Experimentation is key for a lot of that. What works for one person is just not going to work for another. And then look at this stick. Want a stick? It's a big stick. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that. I think I hit 700 followers, or maybe I'm close. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who's following along. I get so many good messages, or so many good posts. A lot of these current videos are coming from those posts and things that I'm thinking about. So thanks to all y'all. Later.